What would you do if you went to a card show, bought an expensive card, got home later, inspected it, and realized it had a lot of damage that the dealer might have been trying to hide? Well, that's exactly what happened to one collector recently, and we're going to debate what they should do now. Hello, sports card investors, and welcome to another episode of Cards on the Table and Carter and Teapot. Unfortunately, today we've got to talk about a card show deal gone wrong. And this one really went wrong. Recently, a collector known on Instagram as Stackin' Sports went to a card show and bought what should have been a huge grail card. It was a Brock Purdy National Treasures RPA number /99, one of the best Brock Purdy cards out there. Now, this card was stickered $7,000 or $7,500, I think. It was stickered in the bottom corner of the card. He did the deal with the dealer. He later took the card out of the dealer's sleeve and realized that $7,500 price sticker, it was hiding something pretty gnarly. The corner of that card was way smashed in, more damage than that real damaged card. Now, the card was graded PSA authentic, which maybe should have been a warning sign. I think that's probably a sign to closer expect it. And Stackin' Sports said, hey, my bad, I didn't look at it closer. He did say he went back to the dealer. The dealer gave him a small concession, but he still feels like he got screwed over in the deal and ended up paying a lot of money for a card with a lot of damage that probably wasn't worth that. Now, Teapot, I know you've bought a lot of cards at card shows before. Carter, you obviously set up as a dealer at many card shows for Cards HQ. When you saw this, what did you think about this? Who is really at fault here? And have you ever encountered this type of thing before?
Yeah, who's at fault? The dealer. Don't do that. Don't be shady. Don't be a crook. Like, he knew what he was doing. You don't try to hide damage. It shouldn't be this hard to be honest. Just be honest. And in a world of social media, would you ever do something like this, Carter?
Absolutely not.
Like, you're going to get blasted. What would you do if Ryan and Carter did this at a show?
Be
and then
very
this hit
upset.
all over social media.
Very upset.
You'd be like, why did I partner with you guys? This is ridiculous. You have to be honest. You need to do that. As a buyer, you do have to take some ownership. You know I'm big on that piece too, though.
Yeah.
Ownership and accountability. How do you spend $7,000, $7,500 on a card and not look the thing over, like, completely? The other part that I didn't really understand, I see the sticker was on the bottom right of the front. You didn't turn the card over?
Yeah, you could still see some of that damage
the
on the bottom.
corner's just damaged
back.
completely.
Yeah.
It looks like the thing got like run over or something in the corner. So I have a thing that I operate by. If it seems too good to be true, it probably is. That's a good life principle, right? This card just did 11,000 plus in raw condition in July. So authentic, saying that it's in the $7,000 range, that to me just right away on a card serial number /99 like this says it's too good to be true. If I'm dropping $7,000 on a card and there's something like that, I'm asking the dealer, like, what's the scoop here? Like, why are you, trying to get rid of this at this price? Flip it over and do your research. You got to protect yourself.
So you think the dealer was definitely in the wrong here. You do think the buyer should have taken some responsibility, which they did, and they had some personal accountability in this. Carter, as a dealer yourself, how do you see this issue here? How responsible was the dealer versus how responsible was the buyer for buying a card that had a lot of damage and not even taking 5 seconds to inspect it, pull it out of the sleeve, and actually notice that?
Right. The big issue I have on the dealer side is that I think this is going to hurt trust in a lot of people at card shows. Like, this is going to actually have a bigger impact with how much this is blowing up. The fact that we're talking about this as our main topic today. Like, I hope this really tells people you got to look at cards at card shows, whether they're raw, whether they're graded, especially PSA authentic. And so I actually did more investigating. I actually looked at the PSA scan on the PSA website. And honestly, if you turn over the back, from the back scan, the corner actually looks like more of just a normal damaged corner.
Wow.
It's not as pushed in as you would actually think, surprisingly. Because initially, when I saw this, like, yeah, just turn it over. You'll see it looks crazy on the front. It really just looks like a little dent on the back. It doesn't look like much at all compared to the front.
Wow.
But the intention to put a sticker over the corner, I mean, yes, the buyer should have looked at the card. But at the same time, people want to be respectful of cards. I know some people take off sleeves, they ask. Some people are nervous to ask, hey, can I take off the sleeve off this slab? Hey, can I take this card out of the top loader? Some people just aren't comfortable asking those questions. So as a seller, as a dealer, as someone that is hopefully a professional setting up at these large card shows, they should have a lot more integrity in something like this and not place things in the way of damage like this. Yeah.
Ordinarily, I would actually say the buyer has a lot of responsibility here. Maybe the majority of the responsibility. Like the buyer, this card was graded a PSA Authentic. That is a sign that the person who submitted it didn't go for a number grade because the card probably has a lot of damage and it probably would have graded really poorly. A card like that, as long as it's going to grade probably at least an 8, you would submit it for a number grade. So if it's a PSA Authentic, that means that the number grade on the card would probably be a 7 or below, and it's a PSA Authentic. So that right there is a warning sign. If it was simply that, then I would say, well, no, this is the buyer's fault. It was a PSA Authentic. He could have inspected it and found the damage. But the thing that really gets me in this case is the fact that that dealer positioned the price sticker right over the damage. That is just like intent. That is an example of like intent. What's the term in law where somebody's pre-planned something?
Premeditation.
Premeditation.
Yeah.
It's premeditated intent. The price sticker is a premeditated intent to screw over a buyer. And that's exactly what happened here. So even though I feel like the buyer should have done a little more digging on this card and seen the Authentic and pulled it out and looked at it, the premeditated intent of the dealer, in my opinion, means the dealer is guilty in this case of doing that buyer wrong. And frankly, I think the dealer should have just given the buyer his money back and called it a day. And it gets a little bit worse because that dealer or somebody had bought that card just recently on eBay for $4,500. It was up on an eBay auction. It ended a little under $4,500. They turn around, hide the damage with a sticker, have it priced at $7,500, looking for a quick flip for an unsuspecting buyer. And unfortunately, they got that.
There's another piece for the buyer's accountability. Use market movers or something to find that card and notice that it sold.
Yeah, that it sold
if you're
recently.
Buying, you need comp information. This reminds me of that fake PMG saga.
Yeah.
And the guy who bought that card took like radical self-accountability for making a mistake. So I would say it goes both ways. If you make the mistake, you got to own it, but the dealer was the one who did something shady.
Unbelievable. Also unbelievable, but in a much more positive direction, are Arena Club's amazing slab packs. This last week, guys, the hits out of these things were insane. A Patrick Mahomes Select Tie-Dye RPA was hit out of an Arena Club slab pack, Anthony Richardson's Downtown Black Pandora PSA 10, and a Jackson Holiday First Bowman Gold Refractor Auto all hit in the last week. But this next week's slab packs, even better. In fact, tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 a.m. Pacific Time, the next drop of slab packs hits Arena Club's app. And they are cards such as a CJ Stroud Rookie Kaboom PSA 10, a really nice Bobby Witt Jr. First Bowman, and also a Travis Scott box in the baseball slab packs. And then finally in the basketball slab packs, you could find a Victor Wembanyama Black Color Blast PSA 10. All of these plus a lot more. It's a lot of fun. Go check it out. Download the Arena Club app to your phone and then use promo code SCI for 10% off your first slab pack purchase. All right, guys, let's get to our next topic this week. This is an extremely busy week for releases of new products. In fact, possibly the busiest week of the year. This week, you have 2023 Topps Chrome Basketball. That just came out. People are already posting a lot of Wemby autograph pulls that they've gotten out of that product here. We pulled already a really nice Scotty Barnes auto out of that product, and we're ripping more right now. 2023 Topps Composite Football also hits tomorrow. I'll be breaking that tomorrow morning. Panini Select Football hits this week, 2023. 2024 Topps Pristine Baseball hits. 2024 Panini Boys of Summer Baseball hits. 2024-25 Upper Deck MVP Hockey. and 2024 Skybox Metal Universe Avengers. That is a lot of releases in a week. So of all of these boxes, which one do you think has the most long-term staying power and collectability? That's a big question. I'm going to start with you, Carter.
I'm going to be honest. I think a lot of people in the short term are going to be more hyped about the basketball product, right? But I'm actually really hyped about Topps Composite Football, mainly because of the rookie autos and the multitude of rookie quarterback autos. CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, Will Levis, right? It's such a stacked quarterback class right now. Anthony Richardson as well. So you're talking about 4 starting quarterbacks that are signing rookies, right, in this product. We don't have that in Panini. We just have Anthony Richardson and Panini products. So, people want rookie autos of these guys, and this is your shot, your first shot to get them, right? And a limited shot. Topps is not coming out with many football products at all this year. They're all going to be unlicensed. I get it, but when people want a rookie autograph of one of these guys, especially CJ Stroud, this is a product that people are going to be after. Pristine's also very interesting. I'm pretty sure I was reading over the checklist that just kind of released. I'm pretty sure Yamamoto and Shohei Ohtani have a dual auto. That's
really?
Going to be pretty exciting. Wow. So it's first Dodger autos in the product, if I'm correct. So I'm excited about that as well. So that may have a little sneaky play that people aren't aware about just yet, but that's coming out next week. Really exciting product as well.
All right, what do you have your eyes on, T-Paul? Which of these products is the best long-term bet?
For me, the one that stands out the most is just Select Football. Like, people go crazy over Select. We've talked about this. We know it's super watered down. It doesn't matter. People love it. They go after it.
And it's licensed, unlike Topps Composite Football, which isn't.
Yeah, now I will say I was kind of debating Parker on my data team about the staying power of composite and whether or not that would be popular. I think it's going to be very popular. I think that the designs look really nice. There's a lot of rookie chases. It's like Chronicles. People like chasing all these rookies in Chronicles. There's a billion parallels of each level in this set. It's like Select on steroids in that regard. So I'm a little bit concerned about that piece. I've got a video coming out on the Market Movers channel this upcoming weekend about mistakes not to make as a buyer of sports cards. And one of the biggest mistakes is buying singles immediately after products release.
Oh, gosh.
So with all of these, I would just say from a cautionary perspective, be careful. Already, Wemby's raw, Topps Chrome is out, $75 to $100 raw. Do you know what his Prism base card started out at? $100 to $120 raw. It's down to $30.
Right.
Do not buy that card. Do not seek the treasure. For those who pick up on my vibes with that one. So looking at the rest of this product, I love the Topps Pristine Baseball design this year. It's the same design as 2004 Pristine Basketball. It looks amazing. Some of the inserts, like the car wash one, not so much. Don't know what they're doing there. I love a good Metal Avengers product. Excited about that. Upper Deck MVP Hockey. Okay. Boys of Summer, weird name for a product. It looks cool. It's unlicensed. I'm not going anywhere near that. So that's my little rundown on the product lineup.
Yeah, I'll give you 2. I was going to say Select Football. Generally, I agree because people just love Select. Even though all they have is Anthony Richardson autos, they don't have the other guys. Those guys are in composite, and people are going to love those CJ Stroud autos long term.
Right.
But Select isn't really as much about the autos anyway. It's more about all the different levels and all the different parallels. So those will continue to be popular. But I'd say out of all of these, I would just pick Topps Chrome Basketball simply because of the Wemby rookie auto chase. Simply because of that. Because if I look at all of these guys from all of these different products and say who's going to be the one player out of any of these products who 10, 20, 30 years from now, people may desperately be chasing, that person's card still, and it's probably Victor Wembanyama. He's got the greatest chance of all of it. And therefore, his rookie autos, which are only right now in Topps Composite Basketball, I think that's going to actually give that product the longest staying power, even though it's unlicensed and even though a lot of the other cards in the set aren't that interesting to many collectors for that reason. But the one that is Victor Wembanyama's autos, and that's going to be big in the long term. And then, got LeBron autos and everything in there as well.
Do you guys think this will stack up against his Bowman Chrome auto long term?
Against?
For Wemby. This Topps Chrome unlicensed, Pro unlicensed, no color versus his, kind of weird looking.
You're talking about his Bowman U.
You're
talking. I got you. Okay, yeah. For his. I don't know. What do you think about that actually?
I think that's a tough one. I think people are going to gravitate generally towards the NBA.
Yeah, I would agree.
But I'd say, that's kind of why I chose Topps Composite Football, because I do feel like his first Bowman auto in comparison to his professional auto is much better and going to be way more desired than if you compare the quarterbacks from their collegiate first Bowman autos, right? Yeah. CJ Stroud's first Bowman and Bryce Young's first Bowman are unlicensed. They were in the year prior to the licensing coming in 2023. So, I think they're both going to be heavily desired, comparison into the football products. So,
yeah.
But I would say generally people are going to go for the NBA professional ones.
Interesting question. What do you guys think in the comments? Out of all of those products, what do you think is most desirable? Let us know what you think in the comments. And I wanted to mention that tomorrow morning, I will be breaking Topps Composite Football on the Cards HQ Breaks account on Whatnot. We're going to bring a QR code up on the screen and put a link in the show description below. If you want to join me, starting at 9 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow, get in on some breaks on Topps Composite Football tomorrow morning with me on Cards HQ Breaks on Whatnot. Okay, let's go to our third topic of the show. What a weekend it was. An all-time record-setting weekend for a sports card and memorabilia auction. That's what happened at Heritage Auctions. $61.9 million over a 3-day span. I contributed approximately $50,000 towards that $61.9 million with my auction purchases from the weekend. So a very small sliver compared to some of these. These were the items that went for over $1 million. You had the 1932 Babe Ruth called shot jersey that sold for $24.1 million. You had a Jackie Robinson 1951 Brooklyn Dodgers jersey that sold for $5.52 million. And then you also had a 1952 Mickey Mantle jersey, a 1954 Hank Aaron rookie jersey, and a Joe Jackson game-used bat. And then finally, the only card in the group, a 1952 Topps Mickey Mantle PSA 8. Those were the other items that all sold for over $1 million. But then there were, of course, hundreds or thousands of items which were under $1 million, which sold as well. It all totaled up to $61.9 million overall, setting the all-time record. So a couple questions for you, Teapot. What do you think about this? What does it say about the overall market? And also, of the items that I just mentioned, which one would you most like to own?
I can hear the Blez Bros ringing in my head. The hobby is alive. They're always saying the hobby's alive, in spite of all the people, including in our comments last week, saying the hobby's dead, like every week. The hobby is alive, not just with cards, but apparently also with game-used iconic memorabilia. These are some massive items. These give me even more confidence that Fanatics Sotheby's auction that happens is going to be, set some records probably too with what they've got up. If I'm going to pick from that list, it's the Babe Ruth. I mean, that is an incredible piece. There's a reason it went for $24+ million. So I would say congrats to Heritage, as well as those who consigned with them through this. Those are some really big numbers. I was thinking about this too, like what's the item I would want to have the most if I were picking a memorabilia item. And I think I'd want like Barry Sanders' jersey from the last game of his 97 MVP season.
Okay.
When he had 2,300 plus, all-purpose yards, 14 touchdowns. It's got to be something with Barry. So even if I were going outside of this list, it'd be a game-used Barry Sanders jersey.
I like that call. Like that call. You know what it is for me? Tim Tebow. The jersey from his senior season when he beat FSU. And that's when all of the paint from FSU's field, all the red, went all over him. It looks like it's blood. The guy looks like a freaking warrior, and he beat the socks off of FSU that day. That's the jersey that I would pick.
Dream.
I would love that jersey. How about you, Carter? What do you think about all this?
This is super exciting. I mean, I'm such a sucker for game-used memorabilia, period. I think it's actually very underrated in our space. I think there's been a lot of focus on cards since the COVID era began, right? I think game-used memorabilia, like we've seen spurts of this happen, right? Where there's been exciting auctions and exciting numbers come out. But this is really showing momentum, and I think we're going to see this further here in the near future as well. A memorabilia piece that I really want game-used, it's more recent, but I love the 70th base from Acuna's ceiling, holding it up last year. I think that would be great for the 40th.
I know somebody else who would like that too.
Yeah.
You know what?
The base.
It's coming up for auction.
Yeah.
I met Acuna's manager.
Really?
I met Acuna's manager, and Acuna's manager said the base is about to come up for auction.
Yeah.
So
wow.
you'll actually have a shot.
There we go. I'll have a shot.
You'll have a shot at getting it.
Do we have a bounty?
You'll have a shot.
We have a bounty.
It's probably going to go for big dollars, although now that he's injured,
it might not.
maybe goes for a little less dollars. Might be a little more
It's
attainable.
a good time to buy a
I
Acuna
will
memorabilia.
say game-used memorabilia HQ doesn't have the same ring as cards.
Yeah.
No, we're cards through and through. But I agree with you that the heat of the the heat of the game used market has been extreme, and it only seems to continue to be.
Well, I think
better.
it's exciting. I think people are realizing that they can get a whole piece for a reasonable price in comparison to some of these cards. I mean, it's cool having these cards and splitting up fractionally, but you get a small memorabilia piece, and some of these cards can be hundreds or thousands of dollars, right? You can spend a similar amount or $1,000 on a whole bat, a whole base, stuff like that. But it's great. It's great to have it in both the card world and in just the normal memorabilia.
You want a full game-used Brock Purdy jersey? Or do you want a damaged, authentic...
With a squished corner.
With a fake jersey piece
with a squished corner.
With a squished corner.
You'd have trouble hiding the jersey damage with the little price tag. Actually, the jersey damage would make the jersey even more valuable if it's all ripped up from the game or something like that. All right, guys, let's go on to the last topic of today. Fanatics Collect and CGC have teamed up to offer 24-hour grading. That's what they are aiming for, turnaround. Now, the way that this is actually happening is CGC is opening up a grading and authentication service office at Fanatics Collect's facility in Oregon. So if you submit your cards to the Fanatics Collect vault, you can then have them graded essentially on site by CGC's team. My question for you guys, does this help CGC's standing in the market? Because right now, when you look at sports card grading, you've got PSA as the absolute dominant number one. Then you've got SGC, kind of far behind PSA, but they're the clear number two. Then you drop to Beckett as a number three that just seems to constantly be losing steam in the sports card world. And then you get to CGC on down there in kind of a number four spot. So they're real small right now in the sports card world, but could this change the trajectory? Carter, what do you think about all this?
It can. I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done, but this is what Fanatics wanted to do. I mean, people talk about this Fanatics going to get into grading. This is kind of their way to inadvertently get into grading, right? CGC has a massive presence in the TCG space. I mean, they are by far the number two in the TCG space, quantity-wise, and what they grade. So they obviously understand cards. They grade cards fair. Their graders are professional. They are just up there with PSA and standards overall when they grade cards. Unfortunately, they just have not broken into the sports industry like they have. Obviously, they've rebranded. They were CSG, then they've, kind of combined CGC. So it's been kind of confusing over recent years for sports collectors to get involved with them. They've changed their slabs, they've changed their labels. I think they
changed their grading scale.
Changed their grading scale. So people had to resubmit a total in the last 5 years. You had to resubmit maybe 3 or 4 times to actually get to their standards today. So now they're a little bit more established. This is telling me that they're ready to make the run and the push. They were set up big at the National. They were set up big at Fanatics Fest New York. They are making this push now, partnering with Fanatics. So I could see them being in play. It's starting now. It's very early. It's hard to see if they can. It's competitive with SGC. It's competitive with Beckett. People are established with them. Collectors like them. So I'm definitely eager to see what happens, but this is just the beginning of them starting that for real push. I expect many major changes to happen like they have in recent years.
Yeah, CGC definitely seems to want to play that role. They had a big booth at Fanatics Fest. Obviously PSA was there, Beckett was there, but CGC's booth was more visible than Beckett's booth, right in the middle of the show floor. Was SGC there?
SGC was there. Beckett and SGC just had their normal booths that they have at any card show, Dallas or the Burbank show. CGC had their whole national setup, so it was quite impressive. And it kind of showed that they were obviously going to partner with Fanatics, obviously. But, but they're trying to step in further.
They're clearly putting in the effort. Do they have a chance? And does this help them, Teapot?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're making smart moves. They need more ubiquity, more market presence. They need to be seen more. Like when people don't see the sports cards, even from a perspective of adding their data to market movers, a lot of people, myself included, honestly, want to be able to see CGC cards, graded cards for sports cards in our database. The problem is they don't have a ton of them. They're just not grading a ton. So I can go in and with my team and we can add all these cards to our database and they don't even exist. Nothing's tracking with those cards. So the more they can get into circulation, the better. And I think these paths make the most sense. Exclusive partnerships, rapid turnaround time, target that same ultra modern sweet spot that SGC has, which is going to be the lower dollar stuff because at the end of the day, if it's a big dollar card, even with the upcharges, people are going to PSA. So lean into that space and start trying to just get more of a presence. Run specials like SGC does when new product releases come out. And I would also be issuing like customer loyalty programs. Like the more you grade, the more we're going to give you, a discounted rate or some kind of kickbacks or whatever promotional materials. They've got to encourage the volume to come through the doors and be able to scale up and support it. So I think they're making a lot of the right moves. I am curious from a Fanatics Collect perspective how this impacts the Mike Baker authentication stuff, because they do that on a lot of raw cards.
Yeah.
So I don't know if people just start going CGC because it's $5 versus $14 or whatever that's going to look like. But overall, I think it's a good move for them. It definitely can't hurt. They just need more slabs on the market and more presence overall.
It's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out, that's for sure, but certainly a move that can only stand to help them at this point in time. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, make sure to give it a like, make sure to give it a subscribe, and go check out those slab packs dropping on Arena Club tomorrow morning. Promo code SCI with the Arena Club app, and then join me on Whatnot Cards HQ Breaks for Topps Composite Football tomorrow morning as well. We'll see you next time. Take care.